Have you ever paused halfway through your morning pour-over and wondered, is this little cup still my friend after all these years? Does the label on that cafe mocha whisper sweet comfort or silent danger now that you're taking a beta blocker? And here's a big one. If you give up coffee entirely, would your bones sing a thank you? Or would your mornings lose their spark? Stick around, because in the next 20 minutes, we're going to stroll through real kitchens, peek inside research labs from Boston to Oslo, and settle, at last, on how to enjoy coffee wisely, joyfully, and safely once the birthday candles read 60 plus. So grab your favorite mug, maybe the one with the chipped handle from the grandkids' visit, settle back, and let's talk coffee, senior style. The story begins on a gray Monday in Austin, Texas. 72-year-old John Parker presses the brew button on his old-school drip machine exactly 9 minutes before 7. The house is quiet now. His boys have long since scattered to Denver and Des Moines, and his wife Ellen passed 3 winters ago. What remains faithful is that soft, steady tit-tit of hot water kissing ground beans. John swears it's the one reliable heartbeat that tells him a new day is worth showing up for. Yet 2 months back, during a routine checkup, Dr. Patel tapped his pen and said, "John, you're doing great. Cholesterol's holding steady. Blood pressure's the envy of half my waiting room. But do me a favor. Keep your caffeine under 300 milligrams a day and cut it off after lunch." Simple enough, but for a man who prides himself on bottomless refills, the advice felt like being asked to bicycle with only one pedal. Still, John is no fool. He promised Ellen he'd stick around to dance at the granddaughter's wedding. So he set out to test whether sensible coffee could coexist with sensible aging. That same week, up in rainy Seattle, 68-year-old Linda Gomez was rethinking her own ritual. Every Tuesday, she treated herself to a vanilla frappuccino, grande size, extra whip, because why not? Except her A1C had crept to the border of prediabetes, and her daughter kept texting articles about sugar spikes and retinal damage. Linda loved her coffee, cold, creamy, and sweet. Could any doctor appreciate the little jolt of teenage energy it gave her? Across the country in New Jersey, 75-year-old Marvin Lee sat in his Buick, engine idling, glancing at the dashboard clock that glowed 3:54 p.m. He cracked open a tiny can of double-shot espresso, his legal booster rocket for the drive home. Nights, though, he tossed and turned, blaming the mattress, the thermostat, sometimes even the neighbor's yappy terrier. Anything but that innocent can of espresso. If these folks sound familiar, good. They're fictional composites, but every detail of their stories was borrowed from the chart notes, survey data, and heartfelt conversations I've collected over 30 years of nutrition counseling. They carry our hopes, flaws, and questions into this narrative, so keep an ear out. Their solutions may fit you too. Let's first visit the science, but in plain front porch English. When we hit our 60s, the tiny enzymes in the liver that chew through caffeine, mostly something with the tongue-twisting name CYP1A2, slow down by about a third. Picture a highway where 3 lanes suddenly merge into 2. Traffic still moves, just backs up a bit. Translation: the same 12-ounce mug that perked you up at 40 can stick around longer, nudging heart rate and stealing sleep when you least expect it. Now, here's good news pulled from a massive 2021 study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Researchers followed nearly 500,000 adults, many of them seniors, and found that folks drinking 1 to 3 normal American cups of filtered coffee per day lived a tad longer and suffered fewer fatal heart episodes than non-drinkers. Filtered is the key word. Paper traps a compound called cafestol that would otherwise nudge your LDL cholesterol northward. So, keep that paper filter handy. or reach for a modern drip machine. Your arteries will write you a thank you note. But, as my mentor, Dr. Sheila Healy at Johns Hopkins always says, beneficial does not equal bottomless. Her clinic data mirror a pattern we see worldwide. Pass about 300 milligrams of caffeine, roughly 2 large diner mugs and an espresso, and the perks flatten out. Push higher, and shaky hands, skipped heartbeats, reflux, and insomnia start knocking. So, how did our trio tweak their routine without surrendering flavor? John took a cue from Norwegian researchers who showed that mixing half decaf, half regular in the same brew pot cuts caffeine nearly in half without torching taste. Mornings he still hears the beloved drip, but cup number 3 is half-caf. Then he chases it with 8 ounces of plain water. Hydration matters. Caffeine nudges the kidneys to leak extra fluid, and mild dehydration magnifies dizziness in seniors. Within 2 weeks, John noticed another bonus. He no longer needed an afternoon nap to stay sharp for his crossword showdown at the library. Linda marched into her local coffee chain and dropped a small bombshell on the barista. "Honey, I want all the flavor and none of the sugar." They settled on a 12-ounce iced Americano with an inch of unsweetened almond milk and a dusting of cinnamon. Calories sank from nearly 400 to about 20. When her next lab panel rolled around, A1C had inched down, and her jeans felt loose enough that she rewarded herself with a new thrift shop jacket. Marvin, hard-headed, sleep-deprived Marvin, agreed to an experiment. For 2 weeks, he swapped his 4 p.m. espresso for what he called a fake-out half-caf. Plus, I coached him through the 4-7-8 breathing pattern. Inhale 4 seconds, hold 7, exhale 8, repeated 4 times. Oxygen woke his brain gently. By night 14, he confessed that he'd slept 6 hours straight. No tiny blue sleeping pill, no midnight pacing. Turns out his worst highway hazard wasn't drowsiness. It was caffeine-triggered arrhythmia simmering beneath. Now your story will paint its own path, but the framework that guided these folks is what the clinic nurses nickname 531. No poster, no numbered bullet points, just an easy mental bookmark. Imagine pouring no more than about 500 milliliters of caffeinated beverages through the day. Call that 2 regular cups plus a small shot. Keep total caffeine near 300 milligrams and give yourself a 1-hour buffer between coffee and any blood pressure check, medication time, or exercise class. That cushion prevents caffeine from disguising how your body truly feels in those moments. Let's pause for a kitchen detour. Which bean behaves best in the senior stomach? Medium roast Arabica often wins because the roasting lowers certain acids that tickle heartburn. Robusta packs nearly 70% more caffeine by weight. Some folks love its punch, but if jitters trail you around like a lost puppy, Robusta probably isn't your pal. And cold brew? Sure, it's smooth, yet be aware. A concentrate steeped 12 hours can carry twice the caffeine of hot drip if you sip it straight. Dilute 1-to-1 with water or milk and you're golden. Before anyone shouts, "What about my doctor's prescription list?" Good catch. Coffee can play tricks with meds. Beta blockers like metoprolol aim to calm your heart. Caffeine nudges it awake. So swallow the pill, wait an hour, then sip. Alendronate for bone health hates company. It wants an empty stomach and a tall water escort. Give it 30 minutes alone before coffee. And if an SSRI antidepressant leaves you drowsy, that moderate morning mug can actually bring focus. Just resist creeping past 200 milligrams. Let's wander back to Seattle, where Linda discovered yet another hack: spices. She sprinkles a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon over her foam. The aroma tricks taste buds into sensing sweetness, so she never misses the drizzle of vanilla syrup. Cardamom does a similar magic show for you adventurous souls, nodding to Middle Eastern coffee traditions. Creamers deserve a frank word. Non-dairy creamers taste heavenly but hide palm oil and a stabilizer called carrageenan. Both can stir inflammation according to a 2022 JAMA Cardiology review. If dairy doesn't bother your stomach, a splash of 1% milk or unsweetened soy provides protein and a whisper of calcium. If it does, choose a plant milk whose label reads 0% added sugar, 30 milligrams sodium, and is fortified with at least 100 milligrams of calcium per serving. Some listeners now emit a sigh that sounds like, "But sugar is my only reward." I hear you. Instead of going cold turkey, practice what dietitians call just one list trimming. If you spoon 2 sugars, drop to 1.5 for 2 weeks, then 1. Many seniors reclaim taste buds dulled by decades of oversweetening. They begin to notice natural chocolate and fruit notes in coffee that were hiding behind the sugar fog. Sleep remains the final frontier. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine warns that caffeine can swirl in the bloodstream 6 hours after the last sip. For most older adults, the safe cutoff is 1 p.m. An easy test. Write down your bedtime and count back 8 hours. That's your personal caffeine curfew. Break it twice a week if you must, but if the television starts talking back at 2 a.m., you know whom to blame. I asked Dr. Lars Johansson, a cardiologist at Oslo University who's published extensively on coffee filtration, how he explains moderation to his senior patients. He smiles and says, "Imagine coffee is a beloved old dog. Let him sit on the couch beside you. Just don't let him drive the car." That image sticks. It reminds us coffee's companionship is sweet, but control the leash. Let's circle back for a moment to pure pleasure, because nutrition often forgets pleasure, and life without pleasure is, frankly, no fun. John Parker started a tradition every Sunday after church. He invites a neighbor over for what he calls memory cafe. They brew a single French press pot, but they split it 4 ways into tiny demi-tasse cups, savoring each sip while trading childhood stories. Portion control by way of social joy. How's that for combining heart and head? Linda built her own ritual on Thursdays, visiting the city park with a thermos of cinnamon Americano. She claims the sunshine, ducks, and distant playground laughter turn each swallow into a vacation for the soul. Sensory pairing, soft breeze, bright light, coffee aroma, anchors a healthy habit far deeper than willpower alone. And Marvin? He surprised us all 3 months into his new curfew. He signed up for an evening Tai Chi class, something he'd avoided because of my darn shaky heart. With late-day caffeine gone, his pulse felt steady enough to try. Movement replaced his espresso. He keeps a tiny souvenir espresso can on his dresser, reminding him how far he's come. By now, you might be thinking this all sounds great, but what if my hands still tremble or my stomach still burns? 2 road signs tell you it's time for adjustment. First, if palpitations last more than 10 minutes after drinking. Second, if sleep breaks into fragments more than twice a week. Dial the caffeine down by half for 7 days, what sleep researchers dub a caffeine holiday. Most bodies reset tolerance quickly, and you can reintroduce slow, mindful sips afterward. One last gem. Some seniors worry that coffee leaches calcium from bones. True, caffeine bumps urinary calcium ever so slightly, but pairing your brew with a calcium-rich food erases the effect. 8 ounces of milk in your oatmeal, a small piece of cheese, or a fortified soy yogurt will cover the mineral toll. Feeling ready to craft your own runway? Tomorrow morning, consider this quick template. Brew 8 ounces of medium roast Arabica through a paper filter. Add a splash, no more than 2 tablespoons, of low-fat milk or unsweetened almond. Sprinkle cinnamon if you crave sweetness. Sip it within 30 minutes of breakfast so food slows caffeine's punch. Pour a glass of water for every mug of coffee. Jot how you feel at noon and at bedtime. 3 days of notes will tell you more about your personal tolerance than any textbook ever could. If the word moderation still sounds like broccoli lectures, remember, the French have sipped café for centuries with joie de vivre. They serve tiny cups, linger over conversation, never gulp in a drive-through. Small volume, big satisfaction. That's the senior coffee secret. So, my friends, that's the tale of how a widower in Texas, a retired bookkeeper in rainy Seattle, and a Buick driving granddad in Jersey each found a way to keep coffee as ally, not enemy. Maybe you recognized a slice of yourself in their stories. Maybe tomorrow you'll try half-caf or trade syrup for cinnamon. Or simply sip slower and notice the steam curling over your knuckles. Before you set your mug down, I have a favor to ask. If today's journey stirred a question, a memory, or a brand new game plan, drop us a comment below. Your insight could be the exact hope another viewer needs. And if you'd like more down-to-earth chats on Thriving After 60, tap that subscribe button and ring the little bell so you never miss a story. Until next time, keep your heart light, your mug warm, and your curiosity alive. This is your host, signing off. Cheers to good health, good company, and yes, good coffee.